asked him about the Cowboys, and he said there was no word from them.
I'm the number one. I'm going to still go out there and prove to everybody why I should be the number one, and the ball's going to find me.
Hello?
Anthony.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Will McClay with the Cowboys. Hold on, I got somebody wants to talk to you. Hold on.
Bet.
I'm a competitor, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to play ball. So getting to go back out there and really compete, play ball, like, that's what I'm about. So
whenever my opportunity presents itself, you got to go ready to take it.
Well, we're having some fun. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Making sure that my team is good, because if my team is good, then I know that on the back end, I'm going to get what I need to get.
Anthony, congratulations, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Oh, man, we are so excited, brother. And, again, we just can't wait to get you here.
And then lo and behold, they're the ones who drafted me. So dude, I give them a reason to cheer for the Dallas Cowboys now. So
Anthony Smith is about to compete for a roster spot on the Dallas Cowboys alongside CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But before you assume this is another story about a gifted athlete who is destined for the NFL, let me walk you through what actually happened. Anthony Smith was told he was too small to be playing high school football, and he spent 2 full years sitting it out. When he finally did get on the field, his first job wasn't even catching passes, it was punting the football. He played only 1 season of wide receiver in high school before getting recruited. And then he went to college and caught just 13 passes in 4 full years. 13. And after all that, he still wasn't invited to the NFL Combine. So he was too small, a punter, 13 catches in 4 years, a combine snub. Everything about Anthony Smith's journey says he should not be here right now. But the Cowboys saw something in this kid that 31 other teams missed. And when you hear his full story, you might understand why. Before we get into it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's go. So how did he end up a Dallas Cowboy? To answer that, we need to go back to Huntingtown, Maryland, a quiet community in Calvert County tucked into southern Maryland about an hour south of Washington, D.C. This is not a football factory. Nobody expects kids from Huntingtown to end up in the NFL, but this is where Anthony Smith grew up, and this is where the most unlikely draft story of 2026 started. You see, Smith first picked up a football at 7 years old. He loved the game from the start, but as he grew up, one problem kept following him everywhere he went. He was skinny. While other kids his age were filling out and earning varsity spots, Smith spent his entire freshman and sophomore years at Huntingtown High School watching from the bleachers. 2 full years, and he never suited up for a game. The coaches liked his athleticism, but the answer was always the same: come back when you put on some weight. Now here is what makes that so frustrating. While the football coaches were telling Anthony Smith he wasn't ready, the track coaches at Huntingtown were watching this same kid do things that made no sense for someone his size. He wasn't just fast, he was historically fast. As a high schooler, Anthony Smith set Maryland state records in the 55-meter dash with a time of 6.36 seconds and the 300-meter dash with a time of 34.49 seconds. He won state championships in both events. He finished second at the state championships in the 200 meters and placed third in the high jump. All of this happening at the exact same time. The football program was telling him he was too small to contribute. That speed was always there. It was always coiled up in his legs, waiting to explode. Football just hadn't found a way to use it yet. His junior year, Smith finally got on the field, but his role was punter. He caught exactly 1 pass the entire season for 22 yards. For a kid who could outrun almost anyone in the state of Maryland, standing on the sideline while other receivers got the targets had to eat at him. Then his senior year happened and everything flipped. In 1 season, this former punter caught 35 passes for 918 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns. He averaged 26.2 yards per catch, nearly 27 yards every time he touched the football. That track speed had finally found a football field, and it was absolutely terrifying for anyone trying to keep up. He helped Huntingtown reach the Maryland 3A state semifinals with a 12-1 record, and earned all-county and all-state honors. But even after putting up those numbers, the Blue Bloods didn't call. He was a 3-star recruit who had played 1 real season at the position. NC State offered a scholarship in November 2019, and Smith committed. It wasn't the SEC. It wasn't a national powerhouse. But for a kid who had spent more time off the field than on it, NC State felt like the opportunity of a lifetime. This is usually where the story takes off. The overlooked kid gets to campus, earns his reps, and proves everyone wrong. That is what should have happened. What actually happened was 4 years of silence. Remember that number from the beginning? 13 catches in 4 years? Now you are about to understand how painful that number really was. Smith showed up at NC State as the fastest player on the roster, As a freshman in 2020, he flashed with a 4-catch, 63-yard, 1-touchdown game against North Carolina. It looked like the start of something special. Then the opportunities dried up. He caught 4 passes in all of 2021. An injury wiped out most of 2022, and by 2023, he was a ghost. 10 games, 2 catches, 19 yards. 4 years, 34 games, and the grand total was 13 catches for 243 yards. Man, try to imagine what that feels like. You are 6'2" with the kind of speed that sets state records on the track. You show up to practice every single day and run routes that nobody throws to on Saturday. You watch the guys ahead of you get the targets, get the stats, get the attention, and every year you tell yourself, this will be the season, and every year it isn't. One disappointing season is enough to make most players transfer. Anthony Smith had 4 of them and still kept showing up. But after his 4th season of waiting, he finally made the move. In November 2023, Smith entered the transfer portal and chose East Carolina. ECU was in state, had a history of developing NFL receivers, and most importantly, it was a program that needed a #1 option on the outside. When he arrived in Greenville, Smith didn't hold back about what was fueling him. He told reporters, "The chip on my shoulder is huge. I am going to go as hard as I can and prove to all the coaches why I should be on the field." I feel like that is what it is all about, working so hard that you leave no doubt in the coach's mind. And what happened next proved every single one of those words. The transformation was not gradual, it was instant, and it was violent. In his first season at ECU in 2024, Smith started all 13 games and caught 41 passes for 799 yards and 6 touchdowns, 41 catches. After 4 years of 13, he averaged 19.5 yards per reception and posted 3 100-yard receiving games. The speed that had been locked in a cage for 4 years was finally out, and it was tearing secondaries apart every single week. But Smith wasn't satisfied. He was just getting started. His 2025 senior season was the full arrival. He caught 64 passes for 1,053 yards and 7 touchdowns. His first ever 1,000-yard season. He earned first-team All-American Athletic Conference honors and was named a second-team All-American by Phil Steele. And when ECU traveled to Raleigh to face NC State, the program that had buried him on the depth chart for 4 years, Smith was named game day captain. He walked into that stadium as the best receiver on the field. You can't write a better revenge arc than that. Here is the stat that tells you exactly what kind of player Anthony Smith is. 13 of his 16 career receiving touchdowns came from 30 or more yards out. Over 80% of every touchdown he scored in 6 years of college football was a deep ball. This wasn't a guy padding his numbers underneath. This was a human missile who only needed 1 step of separation to turn any play into 6 points. But the biggest moment of his career was still ahead, and it came when everything was stacked against him. December 27th, 2025, the Military Bowl in Annapolis, East Carolina versus Pittsburgh. ECU was a 13.5-point underdog. The Pirates were missing their starting quarterback, their starting running back, their second leading receiver, and their starting tight end. 4 starters gone. Nobody gave them a chance. Nobody told Anthony Smith. Third quarter. ECU needs a spark. Backup quarterback Ditta drops back and fires downfield. Smith catches the ball in stride and hits another gear. That gear that set records on a track in Maryland. 47 yards later, he crosses the goal line and ECU takes the lead. But Pittsburgh punches back and grabs a 14-10 advantage. This is the exact moment where underdogs usually fold. 26 seconds. That is all it took. Ditta drops back again. He finds Smith on a slant. Smith catches it, plants his foot, and cuts upfield. 72 yards, the longest catch of his career. He turned on the Jets and outran an entire ACC defense to the end zone. 17-14 ECU. The Pirates never trailed again. They won 23-17, the biggest point spread upset of the entire 2025 bowl season. Smith finished with 4 catches for a bowl record 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was named Military Bowl MVP. After the game, he said, "We just made it about each other. That was the main thing, just making sure we stayed tight and made it about the seniors." And somehow, even after all of that, the NFL still wasn't sold. The Combine didn't invite him. After everything he had done, the All-Conference honors, the All-American selection, the Military Bowl MVP, They still didn't think he was worth a look. And so Smith did what he's done at every single crossroads of his life. He bet on himself one more time. At ECU's Pro Day, Smith ran a 4.40-second 40-yard dash. Some scouts clocked him even faster. He posted a 36-inch vertical and a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. At 6'2" and 189 pounds, he put every measurable on tape that NFL teams dream about but can't teach. The kid who was too small for high school football was now posting 4.4 speed in front of the people who decide who gets to play on Sundays. April 26th, 2026, the final day of the NFL draft. No green room, no cameras, no handshake with the commissioner. Day 3 is just you, your phone, your family, and the longest wait of your life. Smith had watched the first round go by on Thursday night. All 32 picks, none of them his name. Rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, nothing. Rounds 4, 5, and 6 on Saturday morning, still nothing. 217 players heard their names before Anthony Smith heard his. The Dallas Cowboys had already used 6 picks, 5 on defense and 1 offensive tackle. They had 1 selection left, their final pick, the 218th name in the entire draft. And while 31 other front offices looked at Anthony Smith's resume and passed, Dallas saw a kid with 4.4 speed, a 1,000-yard season, and a Military Bowl MVP trophy collecting dust in the 7th round. They decided to use their very last bullet on offense. When that phone rang and the voice on the other end said, "You are a Dallas Cowboy," every single moment crashed into him at once. Every year of being too small, every game watching from the NC State sideline, every catch he never got, every doubt he swallowed and turned into fuel. 6 years of grinding down to 1 phone call on a Saturday afternoon in the 7th round. And there was one more detail that made it even sweeter. His former ECU teammate Siobhan Revel Jr. was already in Dallas, drafted by the Cowboys in the 3rd round the year before. The 2 Pirates who had played side by side in Greenville were about to reunite at the Star in Frisco. 3 of ECU's last 6 draft picks have ended up in Dallas. The Cowboys aren't just building a roster, they are building a pipeline out of Greenville and stacking it with guys who have something to prove. Back in Huntingtown, his high school coach Paul Friel heard the news. Friel, who had just led Huntingtown to the Class 2A state championship that fall, said Anthony was always a great player and a great kid, and I am excited for him that he gets this chance. Now comes the hardest part, making the roster. Smith walks into a receiver room led by CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But behind the top 3, the depth chart is wide open and Smith's speed changes the math for everyone. At 6'2" with 4.4 wheels and a 36-inch vertical, he is the kind of deep threat that forces safeties to cheat toward his side of the field and opens up everything underneath for the Stars. If this kid develops the way his trajectory suggests, Dallas might have just gotten the steal of the entire 2026 draft in the 7th round. From being told he was too small to play high school football to setting state records on the track. From punting the football as a junior to catching 14 touchdowns as a senior. From 13 catches in 4 years at NC State to 1,852 yards in 2 years at East Carolina. From getting snubbed by the Combine to earning Military Bowl MVP honors against an ACC defense. From Huntingtown, Maryland to the Star in Frisco, Texas. At every single stage of his life, somebody told Anthony Smith he wasn't good enough. And at every single stage, he proved them wrong. Not with words, not with excuses, with speed, with patience, and with the kind of quiet belief in yourself that refuses to die no matter how many times the world tries to kill it. The kid who was too small to play high school football is now a Dallas Cowboy, and something tells me his story is just getting started. If you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. See y'all at the next one. Peace.